intro, were you? Hello and welcome to Apex Instant Tips number 187, brought to you most Fridays at 12:05 Eastern Time. We're your hosts. I'm Anton.
And I'm Marwa. Hi, Anton. How are you?
Hi, Marwa. Good, thanks. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Great. I'm going to try and talk at double speed this week because I know everybody just speeds up our show anyway.
Okay. So
this way they won't have to speed it up. Anyway, I know that recently we've been, I can't do it, sorry. I know recently in our internally, we've talked a lot about Apex automations and Apex background processing, and we've even done a couple of episodes on Apex automations and background processing. And you and I got to talking about how we basically don't need to use DBMS scheduler anymore because of these automations. But you came up with a couple of scenarios here that that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we do need to use DBMS scheduler. What do you have?
Okay, so as you said, we sometimes think that with automations and background processes, we no more need DBMS schedulers. But there are some cases where we should use them. Like, for example, when we want to use an Apex API, we can use the DBMS scheduler.
Well, I can use APIs anyway without scheduler.
No, sometimes you're prohibited you cannot use them. Like there is one that I can show you.
Okay, so we'll show that. So an API that you can't use, as far as we know, without scheduler. What else?
So yes, like we have an example when we want to create an Apex user. There is the API Apex util create user, and you think that you can put that in a process on an Apex page and use it, right? So we have.
Okay, let's jump right in and show that. So I'm going to add my screen. So this is the API we're talking about right here. Create user, and right there, Apex util create user.
Yes. Now let's run it.
Let's run it. Okay, here I go. Create user test2. Here, let me just show. There is no test2 user right now. I'm going to put in a password and click create, and I get this. An API call has been prohibited.
Yes, for some reason you're not allowed to use this API, but it's only because you are in Apex session. You're triggering it from an Apex context. So what we should do to get around it is to create the DBMS scheduler that will execute this API.
Okay. So we're going to use, so we'll get to why we're using the scheduler, but what we're going to do is first, I'm going to show I can actually call this API if I'm not in an Apex context. So right here, if I set my workspace ID, once my workspace ID is set, but I'm not in Apex, I can run this and I'm going to get an example user created. So I'll do that really quickly. I did that. I'll commit that. And then I'll come here. And if I refresh this, we're going to see I just got this extra example user. So it works. It works if I'm not inside an Apex application. So what I did was I created this little procedure here, create Apex user. It does those two things. It sets the workspace ID and it creates the user. So I can do that all at once. And then I created a DBMS scheduler job that just does that. So I've got this DBMS scheduler job, create user job. And all it does is it calls that. But go ahead, Paula. Marwa.
Yes, I'd like to point an important thing is to create the DBMS scheduler from your schema and not your Apex session, right?
Right. And that's because if you do this within Apex, DBMS scheduler uses the underlying username when it creates a job. So if I do it here, it's getting created by Anton. But if I do it in Apex, it's getting created by Apex public user. So it won't it won't have the right permissions if I create it in Apex. So I have to make sure I do it not through an Apex screen, not through an Apex session, nothing like that. I need it to be done this way. You can use SQL CL, you can use SQL Developer, you can use the SQL, not the SQL workspace, SQL worksheet in Apex. You can use the web-based SQL. Anyway, any of those ways. So we got that. What else, Marwa?
Yes, and then we have our procedure, and enabled has to be set false and auto drop false. And the number of arguments here you have two. So we have two arguments that we're going to pass.
Got those two. Okay, so now we're going to show how to invoke this from within Apex. As you mentioned, enabled is false. Otherwise, the job will try to run, and we don't ever want it to just run on its own. We only want to invoke it. So we'll just leave it enabled false so that we invoke it. And auto drop, we don't want it to be deleted when we're done invoking it once. So here we go. Now we'll look at this, and I never turned on my timer, so I don't know how long we're going to have here. But so here, now we can say run the job. So we set our two arguments, our username and our password, and then we run the job. And that's all there is to it, right?
Yes, so we are running the job, we are not enabling it, and then there is a key point is to set the parameter use current session to false. That's key element to be outside the Apex context, Apex session, to avoid that issue that we faced before.
I'm just going to have you repeat that one more time just so that people really understand how important that is.
Yes, so the parameter use current session has to be set to false so that we won't be running this job within the Apex context, the Apex session, and facing the same issue again.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's give it a try. So we're going to do the same thing, test user 2. I'm going to put in password here, and now we're going to use the job. Okay, and you can see it doesn't look like it happened, but it is a job, so it's happening in the background. So it could take a second to actually complete. I refresh the page. There it is. We can do test 2. We can do test 3. And we will end up creating these users. There we go.
There it is. Now you can use Apex Tutor create user from your Apex page just by triggering the job that we created.
Right, and you may find there are a couple other APIs that behave this way. All right, and so you mentioned there was more than one. What's another reason to use DBMS Scheduler?
I think we can use the same. We can apply the same approach to run executable jobs, and this could be so effective to get around the limitations.
So we have another example here. We're not going to go all the way through this one, but you can do executables. So you can actually run scripts. You do have to grant a database grant to the user that creates this job to be able to do this. But once you've done that, take the same approach, and you can have a button on an Apex page kick off an executable on the server side. So that's great. So those are at least a couple of reasons. I see we have a comment as well about a reason that you can do it. Use DBMS Scheduler to load voter data. Yeah, so absolutely, you can use DBMS Scheduler to invoke things. You can use external tables. I think you could do this with an Apex automation as well, though. Maybe not, it depends on your particular use case scenario, but I think you could get an Apex automation to do that, or even an Apex one. But here we go. So Rich, DBMS Scheduler instead of Apex automation. Yes, I think these are two reasons that you need to do it. So what user is an Apex automation used by default? So Fernando, this one, Apex automations log, they get, I think he's asking what Apex user is an automation defined used by default. So I'm going to stay with Fernando here. So the Apex automation, I actually think when you create, I think when you create an automation, you get to define the username. Am I right on this, Marwa?
I'm reading what So I'm trying to recall.
I don't recall the answer. Let's see if we can answer that question right as we go. If I create an automation, do I get to say who the automation is run as? I don't know. Maybe it's nobody. Oh boy. Well, I'm not going to be able to do this on the fly. I don't know. I don't know who an automation is automatically. We'll find out, and we'll get back to you on that one. So this, not an OCI, they won't let on the, yes, right. So you can't on OCI do that. But I mean, I don't know how scheduler helps with that. Terry, I'd love to have you drop me a note and explain to me the reason DBMS scheduler will work in a way that an Apex automation won't. Well, we're definitely hitting 5 minutes, and that's lucky because I don't have answers to all these questions. But maybe, Marwa, do you know enough about that to respond?
No, not sure.
Even, I mean, I've used OCI a lot, but I don't know why. I can't think of something I can do with scheduler that I can't do with an automation because of OCI.
Me neither.
So, but there we go. So I don't have a wisdom of a week or anything like that. Marwa, what do you have for us?
I don't have a wisdom of the week, but I do have a cat of the week.
Oh,
And
perfect.
And she's been supervising us, watching us as a fan, I would say.
What's her name again?
Mamisa.
Mamisa. Excellent. All right, that's this week's cat of the week. Okay, well, you have wasted a perfectly good 12 minutes with us today. If you like the show, and we'll try to get back with answers to those other questions. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.